Welcome, everyone, to Shepherds of Men and the Movement podcast. This is Cam coming at you with my boys, JP.
What it do?
O.
What's up?
And Wilson.
What's going on?
And we have literally been sitting here for almost an hour just jabbering with each other. I think it's been recorded, so you may be privy to some of that in the near future on some posts or something, hopefully edited because there's been some really funny stuff. But we decided we would finally actually do an episode. So now we're here with you, and we appreciate you joining us. We're going to try to stay a little focused. Sometimes it's a little tough. See, we don't see each other for 2 weeks at a time sometimes. When we get back together, and then it just becomes we're boys in a room talking about stuff we're passionate about, and it gets pretty fun. So not really apologizing for that. I love it. And as JP said right before we started recording, I hope people can feel this and really understand that we are boys, we're brothers, and we're doing this for a reason. The biggest reason is we want to build up men. That's the number one reason is we want to build men in this country and around the world. So this podcast is designed to be a foundation for that movement. Okay? I hope you've enjoyed the previous episodes. You're going to really love this one. We're going to talk about what it means to be united. And I don't know if we're going to title it that, but something to that effect. And I know this is coming out on Monday, the 14th?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So September 14th, 2020. And we just had a remembrance or I don't know what the proper word is there for 9/11, 2001. Everybody, you don't have to be American to remember what that was. But obviously a incredibly impactful, both negatively, and this may sound weird to some, and positively for our country in ways, and we'll talk about that. But one of the most life-altering, impactful things in the history of our country and in the world, quite frankly, and something that we continue to remember and never forget every year, rightfully so. Lots of heroes, true heroes, not the kind of heroes that we talk about today that are like Facebook heroes or
LeBron James.
Or dribble basketball heroes.
Yeah. Or the ones on The Boys.
Yeah.
Was that?
Those guys.
Was it?
Yeah, it's a good show.
Amazon
The Boys.
Prime.
I don't know what that is.
You haven't watched The Boys? It's pretty funny,
It's good?
heroic comedy.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like real, honestly, real. Like if heroes were real, it's probably how it'd be.
They mess up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
It's good. Yeah.
Did you see LeBron said something about, I'm too significant to society to just shut up and dribble?
Yeah.
And that's why you're not going to
Not
be.
really.
You'll ever be as good as Jordan.
Not really.
Yeah.
You're
No.
not.
Notice how he's been through all this.
Well, you got to remember why you're significant.
Right.
Because you can dribble.
Yeah.
Like, dude, let's be honest.
That's
Let's
true.
know your role.
And
Hey, look,
he's grown and done some, he's an entrepreneur and done some things, but let's just stay in your lane.
be a
Right.
good example, but teach people how to think. Don't teach people how to think the way you think they should think.
Right.
And that's where people fuck shit up in my mind.
Yep. And that's the point we were
Stop
talking about
trying to
earlier.
convince people.
The post that I sent out yesterday or a couple days ago was like, I don't care what you are or what you want and who you love and what you look like and what you do for a living or how you want to believe. I really, truly don't care. I care if you're a kind person, if you love people. You do whatever the hell you want to do. And guess what? I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. Because as Sean Wayland would say, I'm a free man.
Absolutely.
Here's the rub. Don't tell me I got to do what you want to do, and I won't fucking tell you you got to do what I want to do. We'll just leave each other alone.
That's
right?
I agree with
That's
that.
it.
No, that seems like an extremely
seems so
simplified way.
So
You're
simple.
missing all the details.
We're getting off track. So, and we're going to talk about being united. So that may sound a little counterintuitive when I'm saying you do what you want to do, I'm going to do what I want to do, we'll be united. Listen, we don't have to be united in everything. We don't have to be united in how we dress or what religion we are or how we raise our kids necessarily or a myriad of other things. But I think there are some things that it is important to be united in. And at this particular moment in our country's history, we're coming up on one of the most important elections we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think they're all important. I think we say that every 4 years is one of the most important we've ever had. It's quite frankly
Yes.
picking the leader of the free world.
Right.
So it's always important. But there's some crazy shit happening in our country right now. And I would say that most people would agree, especially if you watch the news, which I really wouldn't recommend. Mainstream media.
Can I interject?
Sure. You asked. That's surprising.
I would so.
Right. Normally you just
I'm sorry I got
buzz.
thrown off there.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize. You messed up my mindset with that. So I wouldn't say not to. I would just encourage people to have enough mental maturity to not accept everything at just face value. So if somebody tells you something then don't just accept it at face value. And if you are an avid watcher of Fox News because you agree with Fox News, that's outstanding. But maybe every once in a while when it's on commercial, flip it to CNN, see what they're saying.
Yep.
I know that sounds crazy because I think CNN is probably the biggest comedy channel. I think they've overtaken Comedy Central for the number one channel on
Comedy News Network.
And that's just my opinion because I think a lot of what they say is a bunch of bullshit. But there is a seed of truth in a lot of the bullshit that they say. So you need to be well versed because one of the things that's really started to affect our society is the polarity that we've created. And social media has been big time with that, and we've talked about this several times before, is a mental maturity to be able to handle social media. Because social media and the algorithms, like we just talked about earlier before we started this, the algorithms that are involved in social media are smarter than the people that are using it. So if you don't have mental maturity, it will polarize you because it will show you everything that you want to see so that they can get you engaged as much as they possibly can. And now you and one of your used to be best friends that might have had a little bit of a differing opinion have now grown so far apart. Yeah. So sorry.
No, that's true.
But vice versa too. Not if you're a CNN watcher, you should flip it over to Fox News as well.
And that's
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the whole point I want to get to is like be what you like. You can love CNN, you can love Fox. I don't really care. I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit, JP. As far as the mainstream media goes, I am finding less and less real value in that.
Right.
Truthfully. Now, I do believe that you should go out and seek facts and information and be educated. I just don't know if those are the channels to do it.
Yeah, well, and you're correct. So from a general sense, you are correct. The news and even Fox News is bullshit. Most of it's all bullshit because they're trying to tell you how to think.
Yeah.
So, but if you're incapable of using the shopping cart method, like if you walk into a grocery store and everything that's presented to you as you walk down the aisle you have to put in your cart, then don't watch the news. Right. But if you're capable of walking through a grocery store and selecting the things that you need based off of what you believe is good for you, then maybe you can go through the news and you're mentally mature enough to do that. But yes, I would agree with you.
Go ahead.
I think the news is great about bringing attention to some of the things the issues at hand. But to agree with JP on that is to say be strong enough to look into the story yourself. Be strong enough to do your own research. Right. So I think they're great for the attention on the issues at hand, but just do your own research on it. Figure out how you feel about it, not how the news is telling you to feel about it.
Think for yourself, as we talk about all the time.
Absolutely.
Think for yourself.
Free thinkers.
Right? That's what we need more than ever is free thinkers. And I know there's a group of people that are rioting right now that think they're all free thinkers. That's not true.
Yeah, George Soros has them arguments that they're free thinkers.
I mean,
if you're being peaceful about it, then I guess that's okay. But if you're
fiery but
stuff,
peaceful,
fiery but peaceful.
Yeah, the background.
It was
fiery
CNN.
but peaceful. Yeah, it's like what? There's nothing peaceful about that.
It's a mostly peaceful protest.
No.
I feel like
fire behind him.
I feel like we should define the percentage of mostly.
Hey, I would encourage everybody who is protesting, go back and look at the NRA protest in Washington D.C. how they conducted themselves and actually cleaned up after themselves and cleaned up the street that wasn't even their own mess. Left the place better than they found it. That's how you peacefully protest.
Right. Well, let's do what it is. I mean, there's protesting and then there's rioting.
Right, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's protesting is often peaceful.
Yes,
rioting is not. That's when you go from protesting to rioting. Because like when there's damage and violence and everything else, now it's a riot.
Every single one of them should be in jail.
Well,
that's
and
rioting.
And I don't want to necessarily go down that rabbit trail of just that because it's everywhere right now. And O already said we couldn't do 2 hours on this episode, and that would take at least that long.
You're just determined not to.
They won't even know you said that. I'll delete that.
Well, that's not very factual.
Wow,
or
the
truthful.
power of being the producer.
It's almost like the
It's
mainstream
becoming
media.
It is like the media.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine if I just went through and edited every other
Here's a
word and
snippet,
made
yeah,
it say like something awful?
It's just O's message, the O stream media.
The O Stream Media. Oh,
Dang,
wow.
that'd be pretty dope. Yeah, okay.
Jeez, I like it.
All right, so that's launching. Going to
Stay
the business
tuned.
license on Monday.
Summer of 2022.
Stay tuned. There'll be a link on.
We really should go live. That would be fun.
Oh, for sure.
ahead.
Yeah, that way he can't do that shit.
Yes, yes.
I mean, honestly, like I put that much energy into it.
Right.
Did you guys get slightly worried?
I did.
Okay,
For a
I
second.
just want to make sure.
I kind of had an epiphany. Like,
What if he does?
And we don't know.
the good news is I go back and listen. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't say that.
Right.
No, that's not what I said.
Why
I did not say I wanted a cat, and I don't know how you put that together.
Why do I sound like this when I talk?
I'm so much smoother than that. My wife said so.
Cameron comes in. He's like, I love my dog.
I know that shit's
Wait a minute. That's bullshit.
Who's been messing with this?
Can we redact that?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry.
So
Okay.
back on track.
and listen, here's another thing. It's a good. I'm glad we're doing this. I was about to move that camera. I'm glad I didn't. Okay,
glad
so
you didn't
we're
do
all
it.
we're all
That's not
passionate
fair.
about this stuff, right? And we're serious about it, but we're still laughing. Listen, and my wife, we had a great conversation about this the other night. It's like you can be passionate in your beliefs, and you can be passionate in what you're doing and what you're pursuing, and even with this project right now, like we believe a certain way, and we don't shy away from that. And we see wrongs in the world, and it makes us mad, but it doesn't make us mad to the point where I can't have joy in my life. Right? And I think one reason that there's a lot of division in our country right now is that people are so focused on you're wrong that they can't even be okay with what's right. Like, it's okay. Like we talk about all the time. I can disagree with you. That's fine. But I don't have to let that run my life.
So and I'm glad that you said that, because I think one of the best examples of that is the whole race thing, right? So we have legitimately gone from a time that was really bad. I don't think anybody here agrees with slavery.
No.
In that time, it was
Of
normalized.
any color, of any race, of anything.
Well,
Slavery
yeah,
in
Irish
general.
people were slaves.
Yeah.
There were white people who were slaves. Now, black people took the coin with that because there was large amounts of them that were brought in as slaves. And I'm not trying to discount what happened in the past, but it was normalized back then.
Yeah.
Right.
So from that point, we went into the segregation. Martin Luther King did everything that he did, which was amazing, and it created this culmination. And then all of a sudden, we got over it.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? Now we're going to work together as a community, because this is a thing. This is real. This is what's going to happen. We're going to be together. And then Blazing Saddles came out.
That was so
And stuff like that, where we could laugh
Laugh at
with
it. Yeah.
each other.
Yes.
We could laugh with each other about cultural things, because guess what? People weren't afraid about the cultural things. It was funny. There's something funny about the black culture, something funny about white culture. White people can't dance, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, whatever it may be. But
There's literally a movie named White Men Can't Jump.
yeah, white man
Yes.
can but that's my point. It used to be something that we could laugh at, and then all of a sudden we regress.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I would
Because
think
the
of a narrative.
mainstream.
Why would we regress? But that's what I try to pose to a lot
But
of
did
people.
we really, or is it just a narrative that's out there?
Because
No, no,
Question.
if we are inherently a racist country, then we suck at it.
Right.
I mean, to be honest
Right.
with you, we really do suck at it. I mean, from the origins, yeah, there's some bad stuff that happened, but there's a lot of bad stuff. You go 2,000 years back to the imperial ages when people used to cut people's heads off
Yep.
for no reason. It was bad, yes.
Yeah.
But should everybody that came from that lineage be punished? Because I mean, if you're punished for anything you did in your entire life, you're pretty much done.
Everybody.
You're done.
Everybody.
But that's what's fun. Like, we've lost humor, and I think that's
Yeah.
a great point. We've lost the ability to laugh.
Well,
with
because we got to
each
be
other.
so PC
Right.
about everything.
Yeah.
And when I say we got it, I just mean that somewhere along, and I don't remember when it was exactly from a time frame, but I do remember when I first started hearing the term PC and politically correct, and like people being aware, like not being okay with just like, do we not just understand that, like, I think you're cool. I love you as a human. That's fine. But if you crack a joke or I crack a joke, what? Now I get like insulting somebody
Yes.
or being divisive intentionally or something like that. But and maybe that's where it started. But then it became like putting people in a bubble. Like
No.
you can't say anything. Like
No.
come on, man. And we've gone down this road. It didn't happen overnight. We're talking about 10, 20 years of this PC
At
bullshit that has turned into you can't say or do anything without somebody being offended.
But you can't policy people into that kind
Exactly.
of stuff, because what ends up happening is you internalize it,
Yeah,
and when you internalize it, you become a stick of dynamite.
Yep.
And then
Sure.
it explodes at some point. It's going to explode. It's better to just laugh with each other.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you. If it's just a hateful, divisive way of just constantly harping on somebody because they're different from you, then yes. But let human beings deal with that.
Yep.
We don't need the government to deal with that.
No,
We don't need
Right,
the
that was
media
never
to
the
deal with
intention.
that. Let the humans around them deal with that. And that's why we started this, is to create individuals that could step up and say, hey, listen, leave him the hell alone, dude.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
he's had enough. Like at this point, it's not funny anymore. You're just being a dick,
Right.
And being a bully.
And that's the difference.
That is the difference. But like you said, that's a good point. It should be worked out. And if people can work that out, then we need to have maturity enough to work that out and not go, hey, Mr. Senator, can you make a law that would tell people that they can't call me this?
Yeah.
What?
Well, that just creates more divisiveness.
Yep,
Yeah.
That's it. So on the I don't know what the proper word is because I don't want to be disrespectful from the true heroes and even the people that were. There was 3,000 Americans lost that day, just in the World Trade Center. And I apologize, I don't have the numbers for the Pentagon, but I can pull it up. But 3,000 American lives, right? A lot of those were people that worked in the World Trade Towers, or the two towers, and a good number of them were police officers and firefighters and EMTs and all those different kinds of folks. Mm-hmm. And those are real freaking heroes. Those are real people that literally put everything else aside and said, we have been attacked. America as a country has been attacked. I promise you the people flying those planes into those buildings didn't give two shits about what color the people were in that building. Mm-mm. They weren't doing it for anything other than whatever their radical bullshit was, right? And for the first time in a long time, we pulled together just as Americans, just as people. And it wasn't even just Americans. There's other countries even. Like, we just pulled together and like, this is wrong, right? And we're going to fight against it together. And we didn't care where you came from. We didn't care what you looked like. We didn't care how many degrees you had. We didn't care if you watched CNN or Fox. We didn't care any of that stuff. We didn't care who you voted for. None of it mattered because we realized there's something bigger than all that, which is you're a person and I'm a person. And if we unify, we can fight against evil, right? And hate, like true evil and hate.
And the value of having a common enemy.
Right. Which is sad that sometimes it takes something to that degree for everybody to overlook their own, individual bullshit. But 19 years later, if you take a look at where our country is now the reason I brought up the media thing earlier is because when I'm out and about every day. Now I don't live in every state every day, obviously, but I'm out and about quite a bit in numerous areas every day, as you are. And what I see in my life is not what I see on news clips. Now, granted, I don't live in Kenosha or Portland, thank God, or, New York City or any of these places. So if you do see this every day, then that's great, right? But I truly, even if you do, I don't believe that it's as bad as what it's made out to be.
Right.
Because it's pushing a story along. It's pushing a narrative along. So my point of saying all that is, if you want to watch news, that's fantastic. But I think you should probably just watch what's going on around you. As we've said many times before, talk to your neighbors. Talk to the people you do business with. Like, have conversations with real people. Don't just get all your information off the boob tube, right? And if you do just look at the mainstream media and you compare that to where we were on, and I love Graham Allen, his whole brand of 912, and what he does with that. He basically taught. If you don't follow Graham Allen, I think he's awesome. He talks about living your life the way everybody did on September 12th of 2001, which was a whole different mentality than the day before, right?
You didn't meet an enemy.
No.
Huh?
You didn't meet an enemy.
You didn't have one.
Everybody was American.
Everybody was united.
And we've got to get back to that point. And I don't want it to take something like the Twin Towers. I don't want it to take something like the Kennedy assassination. It shouldn't have to take something like that. My concern is, truthfully, to you guys, and we've talked about this some individually, my concern is it's going to get to that point. It's going to take civil war or revolution or something for everybody to go, fuck this, I'm done. And I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing, truthfully. I know what side I'll be on, but I don't know if it's a good thing. So what I wanted to kind of talk about, and you were kind of raising your hand. You wanted to bring something up?
Well, you were talking about how people just take media and whatever. You mentioned a story about some people who were like not going outside because they were saying the tornado, the hurricane coming up, the weather was going to be so bad that they were like, I don't even want to go to work because it's supposed to be so bad, and it was a pretty day.
Yep.
And it's just like, come on, man.
You're getting programmed.
Go outside and look.
You're getting programmed.
Well,
it's all propaganda.
At this point, it's all about profit too. So it's
fear sells.
It
so
sure does.
So I really want people to think, and as you're listening to this episode, and I know that we've got every kind of age range imaginable. So 19 years ago, for some of y'all, was you might be like me. You were 20, 2021, and you were in your third year of college. For some of y'all, you were 10 years old in elementary school.
Some of y'all weren't
even born yet, and all you're doing is hearing about it. So, and we were talking about this earlier prior to the episode. I remember when I was a kid and I would hear about the Kennedy assassination, and everybody would say, I remember exactly where I was when that happened. I remember exactly how I felt when that happened. And you just can't relate to it. I remember being like, that sounds awful. I've seen the video. Obviously, it's a bad thing that anybody got murdered, much less the president of the United States got assassinated in a car parade. I mean, that sounds like some crazy stuff, but I wasn't alive and I didn't experience it, so I don't have a grasp on it. So that may be you. I would encourage you to learn a lot about what happened on September 11th, 2001. Some of you may have been 50, 60, 70 years old. Some of you may have been there, right? Or had family that was there or whatever. So everybody's got a different perspective, right? I don't think there's one single perspective of people that were alive that remember it that was anything other than it changed something in you. It had to have changed something in you. So I wanted to go around the room, and we'll keep it quick and whatever. Take as much time as you want. Doesn't really matter. O's got the clock. But I'd like for us to, because I don't know why I feel like this is important, but I do, and I've been feeling this all week that I feel like this is important. Is for us to tell our quick story of where we were when we saw that happening, of the plane, and most of us it was seeing the second plane fly into the towers, because at that point the first plane had already hit, and then the news crews were out filming that first tower being hit, and then the second plane came in, and I remember how. And I'll get into my story here. Oh, you want me to start mine? I'll start mine. Well, I've been talking a lot.
Go ahead.
I'll start mine. I was in college. I was at Mississippi State University, and I guess this was my third year of college. My first year at Mississippi State, my third year of college. That sounds right. And I was, I was in the library. Don't let that confuse you. I'd spent a lot of time in there.
I'm sure you were, Cam.
I was in the librrie. Because it was crunch time. It was crunch time was her name. Her name was crunch time. Her name was the test is in an hour.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's not the same crunch time I know.
No. I was the one that got up and went to the library at 5 a.m. when the test was at 8 or 9. And I was like, I'm just going to learn it all in a few hours before I go take the test. Don't recommend that.
I love cramming. Cramming was the best.
Did it actually really well, but I probably could have done a lot better if I tried harder.
Fact of the matter is, you don't ever remember any of it afterwards.
Oh, right. No. As I tell people all the time, if you need a degree, I've got one at my house. You can have it. It'd be a lot cheaper than getting it the hard way. So, anyways, but I was coming out of whatever I was, because it was about whatever time it was, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I guess.
It was 9 where we were at. It was almost 9.
Okay, so morning.
Yes,
morning.
Early. You were Eastern.
Rush hour type time. No, I was Central time.
You were Central. Okay, yeah.
So
I was in Vegas.
Oh, you weren't even up yet.
I was up.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's impressive for an 11-year-old.
School starts at 7 out there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We were all in school. Eastern time. It was about
but they get out early so they can gamble.
It's true. And you're legal to gamble at 12. So
none of that's factual. Spreading false news.
Fake news. Damn it. Fake. So I'm walking out. I've been studying for something, whatever it was, and there's a stairwell there at Mississippi State where the escalator goes up and stairs go up, and I don't know if it's still like this in the library, but it wasn't even flat screen TVs. This will really freak you out if you're young. It was tube televisions, but they were literally like next to each other, and then they were so it'd be like 10 across and 20 down or whatever.
Wow!
But the whole wall was showing the same thing, right? Why are you? We're like 6 years difference. I'm
thinking like Ron Burgundy was like sending the information to you.
Yes. Came through on Telegram.
Carrier pigeon.
They actually
Tower 2 has been hit.
Yeah. Morse coded it to me.
Because they get your pager started going off like crazy.
It did actually. No, it's funny about that.
7 hours later.
No, the year before that. Listen to this. Now this was on the outs, but the year before that, I lived in an apartment that was above a garage behind this couple's house. This was when I was in junior college. And in their garage, they had a business which was called Bud's Beepers. And he had a pager business, and I lived above it.
Dude, he was killing it.
Guaranteed
he was killing it. Guaranteed he was killing it.
Anyways, wow, how stupid are those things? And then where do you go when the beeper goes off? You go to payphone.
Yeah. No, but you learn how to send messages on it. The return number, you could spell out like what you want. No,
that's really
nobody?
techie of you.
No, you guys it. Okay,
I never had one.
That was at the end of the beeper era.
I didn't have a reason.
And
to
then
have
they
a
were
beeper,
like,
Josh.
"Oh, text messaging." I was a drug dealer at 12, so I had to have a beeper.
Well, you told. I wasn't
Really
gonna tell him, but you
important.
told him.
Yeah.
The Bell South,
now.
like
It's out now. Remember that thing we were talking about? Stuff you did in the past.
that was a joke. Use the shopping cart method. Be funny.
Don't let him try to program you.
Unbelievable.
Humor. I was 16 when I started drug dealing.
Right. It's legal then, right?
At that point, it is legal for you to be a drug dealer.
So I'm coming out and I'm seeing the same thing everybody else is seeing, and there, honestly, for a minute, you're like, this is something you've never seen before, and everybody remembers like we didn't know if it was an accident, like maybe the plane flew into the tower on accident, like nobody. I don't think the first thought was this is a terrorist attack.
Yeah, no.
No.
Pretty much everybody was like, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
But what happened? And then you see the second plane, and it's like it becomes this immediate moment of clarity that this is not an accident. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not an accident.
I saw
right?
the second one hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
we did
making
too.
my lunch that morning. Hadn't even left for school yet, and my stepdad comes storming into the kitchen, scares the shit out of me. I'm just spreading peanut butter. I'll never forget this. We're getting bombed. I'm like, the fuck, we're getting bombed. I'm like listening, like what?
Should I get
It's
my
funny how we
sword?
always do this. It's funny how we always do this. Like that's gonna help.
I know.
Yeah. What? Turtle.
Yeah, no, I mean, but yeah, I remember like what? He's like, yeah. So he turns on the TV, and all you see is the one tower on fire. I was like, oh, it's on fire, and they're like, yeah, we think a plane, and no one really knew,
Right.
because it's not like you have camera on at all times.
At that point, no.
Nobody-
No. Now I mean you've got shit everywhere, but
Yeah, nobody thought that would even happen.
Technically,
No.
you did, but nobody had access to the
except the
actual film
government.
because somebody does have videos of the first plane
one, yeah,
hitting.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Oh,
carry
shit.
on. No. But it's New York. New York is the media capital of the world.
Oh,
So
yeah.
somebody had their camera pointed somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
at
But
that
anyways,
moment.
well,
carry on.
there was a pic. And I don't know how edited this is. If it was edited, it was outstanding work. I will say this, but it's a guy at the top of the tower. You see that? And the plane's behind him. Dude, I'm
That's
like,
creepy as
holy
shit.
crap, dude.
There's so many. I mean,
You ain't
there's
making
been
it
so many
down.
pictures over
Nah,
the
he
years
didn't.
of.
They said they found his camera, and that's how they got that picture.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, I don't know how real that is. It could be edited with everything nowadays.
There's
But
people that
it would have been
survived.
really freaking good if it was edited.
Yeah.
There's people that survived at that level, though.
Yeah.
There
At the
are
very
people-
dude, he was on the railing at the top. There's no
Oh,
way.
I don't know about railing. No, the one that I saw was through the window.
Oh no.
Like,
Yeah,
through the
there were some
window of
windows.
Holy
like
crap,
the plane was
dude.
coming in,
Yep.
and you could see the nose of the plane coming in, and it didn't look like a drawing. No, I could be fooled.
Good
It didn't look edited or anything like that, but it was like just below where the plane was coming in.
I'll never forget that.
There's-
Watching that thing, it was like, oh my god, bang, dude. You're what was I, 11, 12, I guess, and thousands, and I'm watching people jump out of a building because they don't want to burn alive or be crushed.
Think about that for a second. You're jumping 100 stories up because that's a better option.
The burning alive? I would jump.
Or being crushed.
No, it's the mindset
it's-
you had to make that decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, you're gonna die either way.
Yeah,
It's-
but if you just put yourself in that guy's shoes,
Oh, of
and
course.
you're
It's
sitting there
impossible, but-
going, "Wait a minute." I literally am willing to jump to my death. Have you ever sat
it's
at
that-
100 foot on the ledge of a
Yes.
building? That's a long ways
ways.
up. Like there's a natural tendency of your body to go, nope.
I've been about 20 foot up on a pole just being strapped to it
Right.
and been like, that would
Now-
hurt.
yeah.
Yep, nope.
Yeah.
It's and there's tons of videos, pictures, calls. You hear some. I heard a call the other day that one of the guys posted that we follow, that somebody left a voicemail for his wife and kids that was on the plane.
Yep.
And you think about like what those people went through, and some of it is just amazingly calm, which is just insane. This guy, I'm just thinking of this guy's voice and the message he was leaving to his family, and he knew it was it. I mean, he's like, this is it. I'm not coming home, right? And you think of heroes like there's a gentleman. I should have the names and be more respectful, but a gentleman that went in 5 times. 5 times he went into that building to get people out. He had a wife. He was 29 years old. He had a wife and a little kid at home. Like, who? You tell me you're a hero for dribbling a basketball or, having a social media presence or whatever the hell you think it is that's cool. This dude probably had, he was a cop he was a cop, so it didn't make great money. He was just a regular beat cop is what it looked like. didn't make great money, had a wife and kid at home that was his life, I'm sure, could have very easily said, I got to take care of my wife and kids. Instead, he literally said, I'm putting everybody else above me.
Yep.
And he went back in there 4 times, and then I think the 5th time he didn't come back out.
He didn't take that job for the money.
No.
Right. That's my point.
Yep.
And that is my whole point is, and you know, that kind of stuff right there. If anybody wonders why any of us get fired up about this whole defund the police bullshit, and you know, are there bad apples and everything? Obviously, yes.
To hold them accountable.
But you're retarded to think that these guys and girls don't deserve our praise for what they do every day. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then you see something like that where you got this guy literally gave his life. There's 5 families right now that have a loved one in their life for the last 19 years because of that dude.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And how many other stories are there like that?
A lot.
True, real sacrifice.
You got the firefighters. I mean, just go up 100 stairs. You know, just in your own
100
downtime.
flights.
100 flights, if you can even make it that far. And these guys are strapped with oxygen tanks and all their gear, 50 pounds to 80 pounds minimum that they're carrying, and then they're bringing bodies back down or trying to escort people. I mean, you just don't understand the sacrifices that were made and what these people are willing to do multiple times over and over again. It's just.
So that goes back to perspective, though.
Yeah.
I think it goes back
They
to
don't have
perspective.
any.
It's what people lose is and this is I give LeBron James credit for the amount of work that he's put into becoming a basketball player of the caliber that he is, because I give him full respect for that.
And even some of the entrepreneurial stuff he's done, and some of the
stuff that he's done in his community,
and
I appreciate everything. You know, as far as that stuff goes, I think that's outstanding. You know, the fact of the matter is some talent in there, but there's a lot of hard work that's involved in that. But when you really look into the perspective of things, if you take an individual and you set them in front of a burning building, I don't care if it's 5 stories tall and it's a burning building, and somebody says, hey, there's somebody up on the 5th floor, a woman and a kid that's up there, but there's no telling this thing could collapse at any second.
Anytime.
Would you run in that building?
Or would you say I'm too important to society to run in that building?
Right.
So, and that's one of the things that we've lost sight of, dude. I'm telling you, it's one of the things we've lost sight of in society. And like at that point, those were the only people doing that.
Yeah,
the people that were getting paid $30,000, $40,000 a year.
People you never heard of and never would hear of.
I bet most of them have cancer, because you look at. I saw the post about the dust lady, the black secretary or whatever that was coming out fully covered with soot from all the fire and stuff, and she died from cancer. She's already dead.
Asbestos and all that mess.
There's no telling. I mean, just respiratory stuff.
But she died, and her daughter's carrying on her legacy about being a warrior, a woman. You know, just all that. It was a really good post. But you know, you can go search it on Facebook. But I remember seeing, we were in class. I think we were in history. 11th grade, just sitting there, just I don't know, probably horsing around like I always did in class. But I remember seeing the history teacher. Can't remember his name. I know he was a coach, but I didn't play for his team. Ran out to the door because somebody was kind of acting hysterically. Another teacher said, "Turn on the TV," and they turned on the TV. And at the time they turned on the TV, you can hear the news commentator just saying that we don't know what's going on, but something happened. Somebody hit a plane went into the building of the Twin Towers. We think it's an accident, but we're still looking into it. And then, like, not even 5 minutes later, another plane comes and hits the other side on the other deal, and it felt like a movie. It felt like it was not real. It was just not like, who would do this? I never would ever have that evil intent on wanting to hurt people like this, but just seeing that, and then seeing all the people, first responders coming on the scene, and just chaos. And trying to organize that chaos, and people talking about jumping off the buildings, and you hear this is all live. This has never happened in American soil, which is insane. And then you hear about the Pentagon, and then you hear about 4 or 5 other flights that are supposed to be targeted to certain areas. I know where I lived at the time was Chattanooga. We were targeted because of our nuclear power plant, and that was actually one of the targets that were in the large scheme of things. And then you hear the people that are on the planes attacking the hijackers, and making the plane crash early, or some of them actually succeeded and overthrew the plane and got it back in control. And I was just like, I don't know. I was thinking at that moment, it's like, would you fight? Would you sit there idly by and just let it all happen, or would you actually take a bullet to save somebody else's life? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you think about all the different things that people have to go through in their mindsets, and people getting phone calls from the plane saying, "Babe, I'm not making it home." Mm-hmm. I mean, I would probably make the phone call, but I'd be like, I'm about to go storm the plane, and these assassins or these people, these assailants that's taking over the plane, but I may not make it. So I just want to tell you I love you. I would never sit there and idly by. There's no way.
Yep, I would agree with that. So I was a freshman in high school, and I'll never forget. I was sitting in my Algebra 2 honors class, which was, God, I remember the principal coming over the intercom, and which was really abnormal because he was like, "Teachers, stop everything that you're doing, turn on the TVs. There's a significant event happening in the United States right now." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like that was a pretty big lead up to like what was going on. And when they turned it on, it was obviously chaos. Nobody knew what was going on. The first tower had been hit. We're all sitting there watching it, and I'll never forget. You've got a whole class of freshmen that are rambunctious, hormones are all over the place, whatever. Not a single one of us was doing anything outside of staring at that TV, trying to figure out what the hell was going on.
Because you felt connected to those people, like it felt personal.
Yeah, it was definitely
because
personal.
you attacked America.
Right.
And guess what? We're all Americans.
Right.
It was personal.
At that point, we absolutely were. And it was at that moment. Yep. And that's where I think we miss it. There's a moment in time where everybody became an American.
Yep.
There was a moment right then when everybody became an American. We saw that second plane hit. It became really real. And to your point, Wilson, you made a comment about would you fight? My first thought was, I wish I could skip the rest of high school and join the military, go into the special forces. It's game time.
Yep.
And that was my first thought while I was sitting at my desk. I was like, I'm ready to go kick some fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like that was the first thing that went through my mind. I was like, and I did. I went and spoke to the Marines, and I went and spoke about how I can get like early enrollment, how I can start to get into special forces training as fast as possible, officer training, whatever I need to do to help out with it and stuff, because there was such a feeling of rage that I had that was crazy. Like it wasn't even like, and don't get me wrong, seeing people jumping out of there and stuff like that, like there wasn't, I guess I don't have sympathy. That's one of the things that I've always struggled with, is having sympathy for people. For me, it was a rage. For me, it was like, I'm ready to go mow down anybody that had anything remotely to do with this. Mm-hmm. Whether you harbored somebody, whether you birthed somebody that did this, whether you were associated with, like, it did not matter to me. I was ready to go mow down whatever I needed to mow down, because you don't do shit like that, and it's time to make a statement.
Right.
Like in my mind, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing going through my mind while I was sitting there, and it had me so enraged. It was unreal.
Well, and I think a lot of us in here would feel like that. That's just kind of
Absolutely.
our personalities and how we're wired. But there's certainly a lot of people that maybe would feel a different way, or feel like they could take action in a different manner. That maybe it's not rage, maybe it's an internal rage or something like that, or it's a passion or a commitment to something better or whatever. Whatever it is, like the truth is there's every kind of role. And when we become united, then there's going to be the soldier on the front lines, and there's also going to be the people in the office making it all stay together, and there's also going to be the people that are just serving in other capacities. So it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to be a badass on the battlefield, but you can still be a badass in whatever your role might be. And I think, right now more than ever, and I keep going back to this, I think that every one of us needs to at least take some stock in who we are as a person, what we're contributing to society, specifically to our country, and our communities, and see where our role is and how we can play that role to the best of our abilities, and also accept other people for the roles they're playing, understanding that, as we said early in the episode, I don't have to play the role you're playing. You don't have to play the role I'm playing. We don't even have to see things necessarily the same way, but you can stay in your lane and I can stay in my lane, and we can work towards a common good, right? One of the things that I wanted to give you some numbers on was the blood donation, because you were talking about this is what it made me want to do. Well, obviously everybody gets motivated to do something. You know, when bad stuff happens, they get motivated. How can I help? Blood donation is a big thing. This was a report May 7th. I think this was 2003 from the Journal of American Medical Association. Tracked blood supplies at 5 regional centers, which together make up about 8% of the nation's blood pool. In the month before the terrorist attacks, before the Twin Towers, the centers collected roughly 20,000 units of blood per week. That number hit 49,000 in the week following September 11th. So over doubled in the week following September 11th, and remained at 27,000 or so for several weeks. So it remained above par for several weeks, for about 40% more than they normally would get. So the National Blood Banks collected 572,000 units more than they usually would in that 3-month period after the attacks. And that was the largest spike. It was larger than the Gulf War. It was larger than the Oklahoma City bombing, all that stuff. First-time donors, they said, usually account for about 1/5 of all blood donated at these 5 sites. But in the wake of September 11th, that figure soared to almost half. So half of the donors were first-time donors, right? And there's a bunch of other numbers here, but just kind of think about that. Now, the sad part about that is that report continues to go on to say within a few months after that, it was just all back to normal. Like, people gave and gave and gave, and they said what people didn't realize is there was still blood needed. Like, there's right now there's still blood needed. Like, but people were sacrificing more of themselves for the greater good during that period because they had a clear vision of how they could help. They had a clear vision of what just happened. So going back to mental maturity, if you are not mentally mature enough to keep a vision in your mind of how you can help, whatever that is, I'm not saying everybody go out and give blood. I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously, it's needed for all kinds of stuff. But maybe just take some stock in like what you're doing today. Like, what are you doing today to contribute to our country as a whole? What are you doing to contribute to your community? What are you doing to even contribute to your family today? Right? And how can you do it better? And that's for all of us. I know for a fact I do, and these guys ask ourselves that on a daily basis.
Every day. Am
I really giving what I can give? Am I really contributing where I can contribute at the highest levels?
And associate with people that will hold you accountable to that.
Yep.
Yes. That's one of the biggest things with this table that's sitting right here. The guys that we sit at this table with, they hold each other accountable. And we have some tough conversations behind the scenes that nobody sees that are really hard to take, but are needed. Yep. And that's the accountability side of that thing. And I think that's what we talk about with this. Men holding men accountable for being what they should be and doing what they should do. And I don't know, man.
Well, and there's a unity in that we have. So this episode's talking about being united and what it means to be united. The 4 of us are very united. We have a united front for what we feel is our purpose, which is this movement. And our purpose is to build men. And we were talking about a story earlier about a young man that's been listening to a lot of our episodes and has grown from it. Yeah. And we were asking how old is he, and you said early 20s, and I was like, you said late 20s. No, it's early 20s. I said it's even better.
Yeah,
I wish he was 11.
Yep.
Right? Because the truth is, he's opening his eyes to some things having his eyes open to some things for the first time in his life. He's reading books that he never would have read for the first time in his life, and he's a single dude, but because of those things, he's gonna find an incredible spouse. They're gonna have an incredible marriage. And they're going to have kids, inevitably. And those kids will be taught things that he would have not known 3 weeks ago. Right? That's why we're passionate about what we do here. And we believe that if we continue to do that, then we have unity. Then we have people going, I'm united with Josh because Josh helped me see some things that I didn't see before. Right? Because we actually talked and had conversations and I listened to his words. We didn't throw Molotov cocktails at each other.
But that's how you make a true change. Not every 4 years in an election cycle.
Right.
You make a true change through culture.
And mentality.
Correct.
Yeah, mentality and culture.
It takes time, too.
Absolutely.
A lot of people want to do it now. I mean, you got all these writers. They're wanting their agenda to be displayed and done and taken care of now. And the fact of the matter is what they're looking for to be fixed is not going to take a day or a snap of a finger. It's going to take time, and it's going to also take them not rioting and actually joining in a proper cause and uniting as American citizen to better America.
Let's be fair to the people that are actually protesting. A lot of the people that are rioting probably have no fucking clue why they're rioting.
Absolutely.
If you stop
Well, a
them
lot
and
of them
pull
were
them to the
shipped
side
in
and like,
from
what the
BLM or
hell's
something
going
like that,
on?
too. Yeah.
I don't know. I
They,
just
they
saw
have
somebody
no
over here
idea. Somebody gave
destroying
me
something.
Somebody gave me $1,000
fun.
bucks. Told me to go set this building on fire.
Yeah.
There
Like-
are a lot of peaceful protesters
Yeah,
out there,
to
and
be
it's a
fair.
shame that they're being clumped in with Antifa
Correct.
and BLM and some of this nonsense.
100%.
And that's
agree
who
with
I'm
that.
talking about, the
Yeah.
rioters,
Yeah.
not the peaceful
Yeah.
riot.
If you are peacefully protesting,
protesting.
that is 100% your right, and kudos to you.
Yep.
Correct.
There's a lot of peaceful protests going on campaign trail right now too. Apparently, that's the only way that you can do it without.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I get behind people with peaceful protests, even if I
Yeah.
don't agree with you.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you know what? I can
Stand up for
appreciate the
something.
fact that
Shit.
you stand up for what you believe in.
Yep.
100%. I don't even have to believe in what you believe in, but you stand behind what you believe in. I'm behind you 100%. But as soon as it affects me, I will neutralize you 100%.
Yep.
I don't care. I will neutralize you. As soon as it affects me on that side, now if you want to have a conversation, you want to prove me wrong, like we've talked about several times before, let's have a conversation.
What-
Outside of that, it's game on.
Here's the really weird and yet incredibly awesome thing about America, is we can be completely opposite and still be unified in the fact that we live in a land where we can be completely opposite.
Right.
You understand? I mean, like, we can be unified in the fact that we believe in a country that allows us to totally disagree with each other. I'm unified. You have your rights to do what you want to do, and I have my rights to do what I want to do. And we're unified in the sense that we believe that's important.
We're blessed to be able to live in a country where we can disagree with the leadership.
Yeah.
Most countries, there's none of that.
Hey, just
You're dead.
Yeah.
prime example. We were just watching Mulan yesterday,
Yeah.
and you talking about like if you do certain things, you get beheaded. You know what I mean? Like there's no ands, if, buts about it. If you're
On simple stuff,
just
like a woman
simple
going
stuff.
into the military, you're executed.
You could get executed.
Yeah.
Just there's a lot of different things that we take for granted because we're not exposed to it. Just like whenever I reshared the post, it's like, dude, you sleep at night right now with not having to worry about a bomb or a missile or a stray bullet coming into your home, killing you or your family. Like you could sleep peacefully at night in most
Some
places.
areas.
In some
Yeah,
areas.
some areas.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I
the
mean-
police kick in your doors and kill you in your living room.
Right.
Yeah,
And
But
there-
again, those people need to be held accountable.
Typically, they
Correct.
get called
Especially
up for a
if
reason,
it's-
but
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they go in the wrong place and kill the wrong people, though.
yes,
Too.
that's
I
true.
think people do make mistakes, and I love Chris Rock made a comment about. Did you see his statement? He said there's certain professions that we have that you can't really have bad apples.
That-
You know,
right,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like an
Police
airline.
is definitely one of them.
It's like an airline pilot. Like 95% of our airline pilots like to land planes. The other 5 don't give a shit.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. We might
you
get rid of
can't
those.
you can't have that. So
Right.
to your point, those individuals should be vetted out early on,
For sure.
or they should be held fully accountable. With
sure.
with much power comes much responsibility.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about that before. Like,
Right.
you don't fix problems by taking money away.
No,
Like,
No.
if your yard looks like shit, you don't take money out of it. You put more money into it to make your yard look
My
nice.
yard looks like shit. I'm going to hire a cheaper mower.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to do.
exactly.
I'm going to go buy a cheaper mower.
And
That's
that
what I'm
makes
going to do.
I'll start cutting with scissors.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a,
Yeah, you're either going to pay in time or money. You know what I'm saying?
That's
But
exactly
your
right.
yard will look
Yeah,
better.
That's exactly
you know?
right. That's a good point.
But that's
that's
but that does have nothing to do with what we're talking about. So I pulled up just a random fact. You know, I was looking the last time we were attacked on our soil, an actual attack, warlike, would have
Pearl
been
Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
So Pearl Harbor, 2,403 people died in Pearl Harbor. It's 2,403 U.S. personnel. It says that includes 68 civilians. And then, of course, September 11 was 2,977 people.
Yep.
Just to give you guys some scale as to
and
kind of what
and,
happened.
and what probably 99% of those were civilians.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say,
9/11,
yeah.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Big, yeah.
So, in wrapping up, unless you guys have some other stuff you want to add, I would like for the takeaway of this to be like, let's not wait for the next once in a lifetime, once in a generation catastrophe to happen before we get unified.
Right.
As a country, we have to figure out how to be mature enough to unify without being attacked. Now, we will. If we get attacked again, we'll unify. I have no doubt that like the American spirit will come through. I have no doubt. And that's one reason I love this freaking country. is we will freaking stand up and say, fuck you, get off my land.
It's
Yeah,
like
man.
two.
We
it's
will.
Like, it's like
Get
two,
off my lawn.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn, bro.
It's like two brothers that sit there and fight until somebody messes with that brother, and then it's like, hold up, motherfucker.
yeah.
We'll put our beefs aside for a second,
Yeah.
and we'll whip your ass, and then we'll go back to fight.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It is the truth.
But the
you're
problem
American,
is,
that's
if we keep beating up each other so much, we're going to be too weak to handle some of those attacks in the future. That's my concern.
Right.
So let's be mature enough to raise our kids in a manner to where we can be unified, even if we don't agree. And that's some of y'all. You got to think about that statement for a minute. You can be unified and not agree. You can have a united front and not agree on everything. You can love each other and not like each other at all. Right?
So look at me and Wilson.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly like you and
It's a
Wilson.
love-hate relationship.
That's
Mostly hate.
That's a great example. That's a great example.
Hey, I'm all
But
about
if someone
love.
fucks with Wilson,
First,
it's
exactly
all-
right,
and
yeah.
likewise.
He's like, only I can chew his ass out. Only I can chew his
hold
ass
up,
out.
hold
Hey,
That's the truth.
I've got some step nephews there, and they listen. They're Zach and Tanner. Zach's the older one. Tanner's the younger one. He's twice as big. And they are totally different personalities. Everything about them is different. I mean, everything, with the exception of a few things. But they go at it, dude. Like, they get hot. But I'm telling you, if somebody messed with the other one, they will kill your ass.
Yep.
If I had a younger brother that was bigger than me, I'd be kicking his ass every day just because he's bigger than me.
Yeah, that's not going to happen in this situation. I love you, Zach. I love you, but you know it's true.
You better be coming with a weapon.
It's a principle thing. I'd be thumping your seeds or something. Oh.
So let's
running as fast
let's
as
look
you
at the ways that we can continue to grow ourselves, grow maturity, and be unified. And I will tell you, as far as the shepherds, and I'll speak for all four of us, as far as shepherds are concerned, our country is a very high priority, because we understand that creates that allows us to have an environment to grow our family, which is a high priority, and to run businesses, which is a high priority. And all those things are important. We got to have our country right. We have to. And we will have our next generation right. Our expectation is for you to have your next generation right.
Amen.
And we also will come right alongside of you to help you get your next generation right, and to get yourself right if you need to get right a little bit. And I don't care what you look like. I don't care what church you go to. I don't care if you don't go to church. I don't care what you smell like, where you live, what your last name is. I couldn't give two shits about how many degrees you have. None of that bullshit matters. All that matters is that you're a person, I'm a person. We were created equal. And we can be united if we choose to be. We love you guys. We truly, truly do. We hope that you've gotten value from this. I believe that you have. Be sure to follow us. As we continue to grow, our message continues to get stronger and more pointed, and I believe more helpful. You can hit us up on all the social media platforms at shepherdsof.men. Obviously, we talked about some books earlier, some things we would recommend, especially to the men out there, to start getting your head kind of pointing in the right direction. There's also some incredibly cool Shepherds of Men gear that's on the website, shepherdsof.men, that if you believe like we believe, I think it'd be a good idea to represent and help unify around that brand and that movement. And if you don't believe like we believe, man, let's sit down and talk. Let's do it sometime. Hit me up. I'll give you my cell number. Okay?
Let's do it.
You've been a part of the movement.